It is absolutely concerning that he will try to do so, but let's be clear. There is an emergency powers statute in place, the National Emergencies Act. But what a statutory grant of emergency power grants is power that is specific and curtailed. It is curtailed and tailored to the situations that Congress has anticipated and the specific powers that Congress has delegated. There is, and let's be absolutely clear about this, there is no delegation of constitutional power to the President of the United States to do anything vis-a-vis elections. The states have that power and Congress has that power. And let's just put a fine historical point on this. November 8th, 1864. That's the date of a presidential election in which Abraham Lincoln ran for re-election in the midst of the Civil War. He thought it was that important. And it was a closely contested race for a time because of Northern Democratic opposition to emancipation at that time. It was not guaranteed that he would win. Lincoln had the courage to hold a presidential election in the middle of the Civil War. Donald Trump is threatening to take over elections because of a midterm election that he thinks will go badly for him based on the false pretenses of invented or perhaps created crises.
Hi, I'm Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. Well, there is no doubt that Donald Trump is going to try to steal the midterm elections. I mean, duh. The New Republic has a really good article about this out right now. It's called, "It Can Now Be Plainly Said, Trump is Planning a November Coup d'etat." The author writes, Trump has no power to decree that voters must present ID or end mail-in balloting, but that doesn't mean he can't at least try both. Under the Insurrection Act or some other dusty statute, he can declare a state of emergency. Then he can decide that said state permits may require him to take extraordinary measures. On October 5th, say that might mean outlawing early voting. By October 13th, it might mean no mail-in voting. By October 29th, a reminder that all voters must present ID to vote. And by Sunday, November 1st, 2 days before the election, an announcement that all these reasonable measures have alas failed. And he is now forced, against his will, to postpone the election. Have trouble seeing that happen? I didn't think so. Yeah, me either. So picture this. It's October. The mystery Trump accuser, the one about whom those FBI files have strangely gone missing, and they've been put back, at least for now, has come forward. Her allegations against the president of the United States are lurid and to most of the country credible. Trump is down to 29% in the polls. The economy is still limping and it's probably going to get worse. That's me adding that in because of this disastrous war. The polls all indicate that the GOP is in for a historic thrashing. Democrats are favored to win the House, and by now the odds on to maybe even take the Senate too. Their candidates in Alaska and Texas have now pulled slightly ahead. And Trump declares a state of emergency and postpones the election. The Supreme Court issues an emergency stay, saying he can't do that. I'm not even sure they would do that. But the court has no army, and Trump does, along with a handful of lickspittle governors who just might follow him down whatever dark path he plows. So he's laying out like worst case scenario, but I think we all know now that we're living in the worst case scenario of everything. And Trump has been laying the groundwork for this since, well, forever. We know he completely tried to steal the 2020 election and is still talking about it. And he's saying that he will veto any other legislation unless the Republicans and the Senate pass the Voter Suppression Save Act.
They're doing everything possible, because they know if we get this, they probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer. And they're going to fight like hell. But boy, do they get killed. Because even the Democrats, you saw the numbers today, Democrats voted 86% that this stuff should be passed. The Democrats. With Republicans, you're at 98%. But Democrats are at 86%, except for the people that run the Democrat Party, because they want to try and win elections illegally. It's the only reason you vote against voter ID is because you want to cheat.
Once again, everything that Trump and the Republicans accuse Dems of is always an admission of what they themselves are doing. And in this case, it's cheating and rigging the elections. I recently asked Virginia Senator Mark Warner about Trump's desire to shove the SAVE Act through, perhaps doing one of these crazy executive orders, even if it fails to pass in the Senate, where it currently does not have the right number of votes to pass.
Hey, Senator, I just wanted to get, sorry, because we got interrupted about the president's overreach with the SAVE Act. There is word that he is going to try to do an executive order to prevent people from voting at the midterms, and there are reports that women, such as myself, will not be able to renew our passports.
I would put very little beyond this president. You know, the SAVE Act would set voting rights back literally decades.
Right.
And he doesn't have the votes in the Senate.
Exactly.
But this is why I'm afraid that he will use some fake information.
Okay, it's concerning that women okay. We're just worried that a lot of women may not be able to exercise their right to vote. Because we know that he does not follow the rule of law.
That may be the understatement of the day.
Exactly. Okay, thank you, Senator.
And in fact, just today, as I'm recording this on March 11th, Senator Warner released a statement about how deeply concerned he is about the security and integrity of these midterm elections.
What would this look like? The possible intervention. Well, you could see direct takeover of our elections. You could see changing polling stations at the last minute, the way we saw recently in Texas. You could actually see ICE agents appear at elections, which would have a chilling effect, particularly to Latino voters.
You're damn right. We're going to have ICE surround the polls come November. We're not going to sit here and allow you to steal the country again. And you can whine and cry and throw your toys out of the pram all you want, but we will never again allow an election to be stolen.
And the reality is this now, particularly on the ICE incident, is you wouldn't even have to actually have it happen with the sophistication now of deep fake technology, AI-driven deep fake technology. You could create the images, put them out that appeared to be ICE agents, and float that a couple days before an election day, and you would drive down turnout dramatically. So we have, again, the ongoing threat of countries like Russia, who've interfered in the past, amplifying any of the false information put out by the administration itself. We've got the direct intervention in an unprecedented way of whether ICE or federal troops. We've got the misinformation, disinformation campaigns, which again can be accelerated by outside foreign interests like Russia. All of this coming to pass with a president who has made it explicitly clear that he will do anything to protect his position in power. We are in such uncharted territory. And
Warner went on to say that he does have a lot of confidence in the fact that we have paper ballots, the fact that elections are not federalized, that they are not centralized, which Trump is, of course, trying to do, that they are run by each individual state. He says that he's reaching out to multiple intelligence experts, including former intel agents. He's speaking to election experts, and he's getting in touch with local groups to lay out a plan about what we are headed into in November. He says that he believes that if votes are in fact cast, that they will be counted fairly. But the concern he has, and many others do, is actually getting to the polls and getting the votes cast, which is what Trump and the Republicans are absolutely trying to make sure does not happen. So, we have to be on guard. We have a criminal syndicate running our government, if that's not obvious to everybody right now. We're currently in the middle of this illegal war and every other just horrific crime you can think of. So every democratically run state, and you would hope Republican run states, but we certainly can't count on them, must have a plan to protect election integrity. And it has to start now. In fact, it should have already started. And I know several attorneys general and governors have already put plans into action about making sure that election integrity is protected in the midterms. So for those of you who are watching or listening, now is the time for you to get involved with groups like Indivisible, with Red, Wine, and Blue, with your local democracy groups, because we have got to link arms Minnesota style. It has to be the group of us linked together, because they are going to pull every trick in the book. As Senator Warner talked about, it's going to be the use, the regime is going to send out deep fakes. They're going to use AI to make it look like there are, 1,000 ICE stormtroopers at voting polls, even if there may be just a few or even none, to intimidate people from showing up to vote. So we have to be able to stick together. Those of us who are in media or journalism have got to be able to report the truth, and people need to know where to look for accurate reporting, which is critical because there's so much mis and disinformation floating around. And we've got to be able to stay in touch to protect marginalized groups whom the Trump regime is going to specifically target to make sure that they do not show up to the polls, which is why it is critical that you link up with your pro-democracy organizations right now. I'm in Virginia, where we are already doing early voting for the redistricting plan, which could really change the game for us in the midterms. So we are always in election mode here in Virginia. I mean, it's kind of exhausting, but it also keeps us on our toes. So we're voting now. We're making sure that elections are going forward here, and we're constantly in election mode. So this is how we need to practice now, as long as we are living under this fascistic, dictatorial government. We can't act like anything is normal, because it hasn't been for a very long time. And if we want to regain any chance of getting our democracy back, this is how we do it. And I know you've been hearing this for years now, but every election is critical, because too many people didn't pay attention for too long. And now look where we are. So get involved, start linking up, talking to people, and let's make sure that we get out and do everything we can to protect our midterm elections this fall. And, I know it's exhausting. I'm very tired, but I have to keep doing what I'm doing to make sure that we get the word out. And so thank you for being here. Please follow my socials that are linked below, my Substack, my Instagram, and my brand new YouTube channel. They're all linked below. And thanks for watching me here, you guys. I really appreciate it. I know it's hard to be fierce, but let's hold on, because we cannot quit. All right. Bye.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.